Icketus, ficketus, sumba, kazing. I want your attention, everything. Pockety, pockety, walkety, whack. Ever, shrink in size, very small. Got to save enough room for all. Icketus, ficketus, ficketus, both. President and Malika mesmerectomy. Pockety, 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 whoa! Now stop. See here, sugar boy, you're getting rough. That poor old tea set is cracked enough. This is the best part now. Ficketus, boom! Prestidigitationio! Ficketus, boom! Prestidigitationio!
What a way to pack.
Well...
Hey everybody, welcome back to Disney Movie Stack. This week is Sword in Stone. I'm with Ben Rosenfeld. Ben, how you feeling today?
I feel like I've been defeated and beaten up and tortured. We just watched the Sword in the Stone, and I feel waterboarding would be less torture than this horror show of a film.
All right, we're
gonna give away the review.
We're gonna get away. You're jumping ahead. All right. First of all, Ben, how long have you been doing stand-up comedy?
12 years.
You disgrace.
Every night in New York City, so it's like 30 years anywhere else.
Okay, and what made you get into this?
Probably a bad childhood is the ultimate cause. The more.
What was the cause when you were an adult?
The more proximate cause. So I went to Rutgers for college, and my randomly assigned freshman year roommate. You actually know him, Jay. He's been around a couple times.
Okay, yeah.
We became good friends, and he was doing stand-up, and I'd always go around with him at the Stress Factory and other places around New Brunswick, New Jersey, kind of give him little ideas for jokes. And then eventually, after college, and we ran a parody website of Rutgers together called Sluckers, where it had like drinking game of the week, sexual position of the week. It was like college humor only for Rutgers, so we missed
people got the jokes?
Yes, we missed the multi-million-dollar part of the idea, but everything else was quite similar. So we were doing a little comedy writing already, and then after college, I got a job doing management consulting. Jay was doing stand-up in New York City for a little bit, and then I had a gig in. He moved to Atlantic City. I had a gig in Philadelphia, and I started checking out comedy shows while in Philly, being like, oh, when Jay visits, I'll know where to send him. And after like a week or two of watching Philly open mics, I was like, I could write this shit. So then I went back to the hotel, wrote some jokes, emailed Jay like, hey, here you go, Jay, maybe you could use some of this. And he responds, it's not bad. Why don't you try it? I'm like, why don't I try it? It never even occurred to me, you know? And I was like, well, I don't know anyone in Philly. If it goes horrible, who cares? So here we are 12 years later.
And you're still doing it.
Still doing it. My 4th album's coming out in a week or two, February 7th. It's called Don't Shake Your Miracle on iTunes and Spotify. Please buy it or listen to it. Don't Shake Your Miracle. Or BigBenComedy.com will have a link.
Don't shake your miracle. Now, Ben, you mentioned your horrible childhood. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Well, I was born in Soviet Russia. It was, I don't remember because we came to America when I was 4. And according to my dad, like, I was speaking Russian, then we came here. I went mute for 6 months, and then I started speaking English, which is why I don't have much of an accent, except TH sounds. If you listen closely, they don't sound right.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Childhood, late 80s, early 90s. So, like a lot of the posters in the podcast studio here, I'm quite familiar with Duck Hunt and Super Mario and Mario 2 and 3. Zelda I never liked, though.
Really? I thought you would like Zelda.
No, I never got it. I don't know why. I didn't. It just didn't click for me.
You're very, like, procedural with how you solve a problem. So I'm surprised you don't like a game like that, because Zelda's all about solving a problem.
Yeah, for when I play video games, I like action, whether it's like
you like to murder things?
Sports or Contra or Bobble Bobble. I like where you like respond to stuff.
Okay, you don't like to sit and think.
I like to sit and think, but not when I'm doing video games. Video games, I like to not think.
Okay. All right. But now you said your childhood was bad. So far, it sounds not that bad.
it was fine, I guess. I mean, my parents are divorced because
that's
how comedians happen.
Well, my parents were never divorced. They died together.
I mean, there's different ways, I guess, but that's
Okay.
Divorce seems to be common amongst comedians, more common than general. But I mean, I was also right. I was speaking 2 languages, so I never fit in school. I felt like the outsider. I had undiagnosed face blindness, so I think a lot of times I didn't even know who I was talking to.
Oh, you can't recognize faces?
Yeah, I can eventually, but it takes a long time. So I'm sure that didn't help me with popularity. Not that I never even liked popularity, but I don't know. And then I mean, I watched some Disney movies, but
Yeah, well, were cartoons, was Disney a part of your childhood? What was going on there?
I remember The Lion King and Aladdin almost as much for. I like the Sega had video games.
Yes, the Aladdin.
Aladdin and Lion King.
I just got the remake of the Aladdin video game for the
I would love
Switch.
to play that. We should have played that for now instead of watching this movie
All right,
that
when
we
I do
just
my
watched.
video game podcast.
Yeah, I'll do that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I definitely remember Nintendo and Sega video games, and Aladdin.
That's
and
how you
Lion
got into
King
those movies.
Were 2 of my favorites. Yeah, I never liked children's movies, but like I said, I'm Russian, and my mom never took me to see children's movies.
Or cartoon films. You're not a big fan of cartoons?
Well, she'd come up with insane excuses. She'd be like, Snow White? Niet. She dumb slut. Like your dad's new friend. Little Mermaid. Russian water frozen. Anyone leaving underneath is long dead. Like my feelings for your father. Maybe we can watch first part of Lion King, where dad dies.
So that's what she was into.
She'd take me to see R-rated movies instead.
Well, that worked out.
Yeah, I think.
What R-rated movies did you go see when you were young, Rosenfeld?
Well, when I was 10, I saw Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
And Shawshank Redemption
That
and The
explains a lot.
Birdcage. Yeah.
That explains everything.
I think my mom didn't understand the movie rating system in America. I think she thought R was rosy, G was gay, and PG was pretty gay. So
This
she,
movie is
made
gay.
Yeah.
This Beauty and the Beast is for faggots.
I think that must have been it. She just took me to see movies she wanted to see, and
Okay.
So yeah, I saw Pulp Fiction when I was young, and all sorts of. From 94 to 98, if there was explosions, violence, and too much sex in it, I saw it.
You saw it, okay.
As a 10 to 12-year-old.
So you were not going to see...
I didn't have a childhood, is what I'm saying.
You didn't have a child, yeah.
I always felt like I was a little grown-up,
Did you ever go to Disney World, Disneyland? Because I didn't.
No,
Okay.
they never took me to that.
That's not what they were about.
I think we went to Miami once for vacation.
You guys went to
and
the
got in
club.
a
They
big
gave you
fight.
some
All
coke.
I remember is my mom smashing some photo, and them yelling, and that was.
Oh, I thought you said
vacation.
your mom smashing some heroin or something.
No, some glass photo that my dad took. I don't know.
Well, that's nice.
So it was fine. But childhood, you don't know your mess. You don't know. You assume your childhood's normal till you hit your mid-20s and you talk to people and you're like, oh wait, that's not how people grow up.
Yeah, remember when you know how your parents hate each other? What are you talking about?
You know how your parents haven't spoken since you were 10?
And they're like, huh?
No, wait, you guys are divorced, but you get along, huh?
This is not how we do it in Russia. This is crazy.
Yeah,
All right, so I take it you didn't see Sword and Stone as a kid.
I did not see a movie from 1963. No, I've never seen any of the Star Wars either. I don't know if that counts as a Disney thing.
Well, that was Fox first, but that's also a form of
that'll
child
probably
abuse.
put your listeners in a we can't trust anything this guy says category.
Well,
but I love The Lion King and Aladdin.
Okay.
I think those are the only two. I didn't like The Little Mermaid. It felt too girly for me. Same with Beauty and the Beast. I think those are the only 4 animated movies.
See, you're gonna think that now, but when you watch that, are you gonna show your daughter these movies?
Yeah, I'll let my daughter.
When your
watch
daughter
them.
watches Beauty and the Beast, you're gonna feel very different about that.
Yeah, I'm
movie.
gonna rewatch from the 90s. I'm not gonna do what you're doing from the 60s. I mean, I'll listen to your podcast.
Well,
and
I mean, you could show her Bambi.
I'll listen to the hits. Yeah, I remember I had a VHS
Cinderella.
of Bambi.
Cinderella.
I had a VHS of Bambi. I never.
Cinderella's
I didn't
good
mind
for a
it.
little girl. She'll like that shit. All right. Well, enough of that. Enough about those movies. What'd you think of Sword and Stone? Give me your thoughts.
Oh God! I mean, they're short. I took 3 pages of notes because I'm a fucking professional. 4 pages of notes.
Jesus.
Even if I didn't like it, I'll do the job.
Mm-hmm.
But one word would be skip it. It's so bad I combined two words into one. That's the pointed at. I mean, do you want to give your listeners the summary, or does everyone watch the movie and then listen to this podcast?
I don't know if anyone's ever...
this podcast is way more entertaining than watching this movie.
Well, I'll tell you, I didn't get like it depends. Some movies I do give a summary, but I'll give a summary of this movie because I don't know if a lot of people have seen.
I didn't follow what happened, and I watched the whole thing just 5 minutes ago.
So yeah, the King of England dies. There's no heir to the throne. He puts a fucking sword in a stone. Someone's got to pull it out. Nobody pulls it out.
So there's no king for like 10 to 40 years.
There's no king, and it's in the Dark Ages. And then some 12-year-old orphan shows up. Merlin tells him about like planes and trains and TV shows and movies, which doesn't come into the plot.
Turns
he just
him
tells
into
him
a fish and a squirrel and
then
a
he
bird.
turns into a fish and a squirrel, teaching him how to be king. I don't know how it helps.
Then he
him be-
accidentally pulls a sword out to give his dumb stepbrother a
yes.
sword.
And then they realize it's a sword and a stone. He becomes king, and then
he doesn't even want to be king.
What?
He doesn't even want to be king. He tries to get out of it.
No, but here's the weird part. So Merlin gives him all these lessons to get him ready to be king. And then when he becomes king, he's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Where's Merlin? And Merlin's got to show up and basically handhold this retard through the rest of his...
I mean, I think Merlin's main lesson is, you need me. I'm the puppet master.
Yeah,
That's the
like,
lesson.
the kid didn't learn anything. Here's my thing with that movie. Like, I never really saw this movie as a kid, but I assumed it was an action-adventure film. And I assumed the movie...
fair assumption. It has the word sword in the title.
In the stone. Sounds exciting. So I thought he pulled out the sword like 5 minutes in, and then he's got to like reclaim England.
Yeah, he has to convince people he did it and like do tests.
Because that's the best. That's the best scene is when he pulls the fucking sword out of the stone and everyone bows to him.
Yeah.
But everything else is like, what the fuck is like? He's a bird. He's a squirrel. Let's talk about the squirrel rape.
I mean, we're jumping out of order, but I agree with you.
It could be in any order.
I mean,
they're just basically vignettes.
Yeah. It felt like a lot of vignettes of.
Look
at us, we can animate things
with a framework. The most disturbing part is the squirrel rape that happened.
Well, the most disturbing part is this was the 6th highest grossing movie of the year in 1962.
And it came out on December 25th.
In 6 days, this made more money
than all the movies.
Than the other 40
Than The Birds
to 80.
and Dr. No. And Dr. No is a fucking classic. It's the first James Bond.
Wow. This did better than Sean Connery?
Yes, in 6 days.
Wow. I mean, I think the takeaway there is people were stupid 40 years ago.
Well, I think people just wanted...
nothing's changed.
I think also, like, there weren't any kid movies back then. There were no, like, cartoon movies like there are now. So people are probably like, it's Christmas week. All the kids are off from school. Let's take them see this piece of shit. Because there's not a lot of choices.
Plus, if you advertise back then, everyone saw the ad, and the kids would be like, Mommy, I want to go see the sword get pulled out. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, when's the sword coming? When's the sword coming? And then the kid falls asleep and has a tantrum.
And then there's a squirrel rape.
The end. So let's go beat by beat into this disaster. This should be called The Disaster Artist, because that's what this is.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't hold up at all.
I mean, look, it starts out with 2 minutes of boring credits without any animation.
No.
And then there's no animation for another 3 minutes of the start. It's just like a lot of Ken Burns zoom effects.
Well, there's a lot of like still photos of the story of Pendragon.
Yeah, it's like they had the storyboards. The movie was 105 minutes. They're like, shit, we need this to be 75 to 80 minutes. And they just zoomed in on storyboards. And I mean, my biggest beef is I felt like they were just trying to hide the lip sync as much as possible. That's why Merlin had such a big beard. They have lots of shots.
Well, also, I didn't know this. 3 actors did the voice of Arthur, because the main actor went through puberty in the middle of the movie. So the sons of the directors also put in the. I was
going to say he didn't have a consistent voice the whole time.
No, it was 3 different actors.
Wow, that.
Although I don't mean how deep did this fucking kid's voice go? I just would have kept the same actor. I don't know.
And how long does it take to record 4 lines of dialogue?
It's animation, so usually what you do in animation, at least how were doing in the 90s when I watched the Robin Williams footage, they record everything, then animate, which was easy for Robin Williams because he improv'd. Because if they already animated, then Robin Williams improv'd.
He'd ruin the movie.
We can't use any of this. Sure. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So then, after that, they animate, and then, like, if they have a new idea, like, oh, what if Robin Williams became, I don't know, Jack Nicholson? They go back into the studio, pull him back in, This could be a year later and been like, do these lines.
Okay, I gotcha.
And then they finished the animation. So that's probably what happened here too. Is that they probably had recorded the kid, then they animated it. They were like, oh well, this looks weird or something, and then they brought the kid back, and the kid now was like, hey, what's going on, guys? Just got my dick sucked.
Yeah, I mean, this movie should definitely be renamed ADR, because half the movie was just ADR, where they're doing random back of their head shots, so you don't have to see the mouth moving, so that they can just put in whatever words they want. And nobody addresses the fact that when the movie starts out, Merlin the wizard is living in an opium den.
Oh yeah, the pipe. He was having visions
smoking
from his
big pipe, having visions. Place looks messy. I mean,
he's definitely a hoarder.
Definitely a hoarder, best case. I will say when Merlin decides to go to the castle and he packs the bag, it was a cute bag packing sequence where all the little things jump in the little bag and shrink.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was cute. I'll give I want to give one compliment to my 20 minutes of this is the worst thing you'll ever watch.
Well, it is pretty much the worst thing you'll ever watch. I mean, there's been some worse movies in the podcast. You didn't get Make Mine Music or the other one. At least this has somewhat. It has characters, at least.
There's something resembling characters. I mean, it was a little too on the nose with the two evil guys with Arthur are both redheads. Like that. That's a bit of a trope there.
Well, you can't trust the Irish. Fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, they could have started. I mean, they could have started the movie like we said with him pulling the sword out.
Sorry.
But they could have also started 25 minutes in when they're all living at the castle and a messenger from London comes with the challenge.
Yeah, and then they don't go because he turns into a fish.
Yeah, which was the prequel to Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
But there was no reason. I don't remember him saying, I'm now going to turn you into an animal to teach you something. It was just like, and now we're a fish.
I'm reading, learn about physics.
Now, here's what doesn't make sense, because Merlin's like, you got to learn, boy, you got to learn. To be a world leader, you don't need to know physics or science or biology. You need to know political science. Know about any of that. No, you need political science and how to persuade and lie to the masses.
Also for Arthur to rely upon intellect in facing dangerous situations, like assassinating the leader of Iran.
But there was no intellect involved.
I know.
This was not...
And then he teaches him, he turns him into a squirrel to learn about gravity and to understand to think before acting. Now again, but here's the deal.
But squirrels don't think, they react.
We never see Arthur put this shit into motion.
No.
Because the movie ends with him just grabbing the sword.
Yeah. I agree with you.
He doesn't really learn anything because Merlin does all the work, whether it's the squirrel's thing with the wolf. The little girl squirrel actually should be the fucking king because she saves Arthur from the wolf.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. I'm trying to go in order. I'm trying to treat this like a movie and not like the hodgepodge of crap that it was.
All right, let's talk about the squirrel rape.
Well, I'm before the squirrel rape. One, we checked how much time is left in the movie at 25 minutes, 38 minutes, 55 minutes, and 70 minutes. It's not good if you pause a movie 4 times to ask when is it over.
Yes.
There's so many plot holes, but another thing is like after the sort of stepbrother or the stepdad, the redhead.
Yeah, he's the foster dad. Yeah, which I didn't know they had the foster system in the Dark Ages.
Yeah, usually the foster system was leaving you in the woods to die.
Yeah.
But so he doesn't believe that Merlin's a magician. Merlin casts a snow spell on him. He believes him. The next scene, Arthur's like, "Oh, sorry, I was late. Merlin turned me into a fish." And the guy's like, "Oh, I don't believe you. You're lying to me. Go wash dishes."
And then when they wash dishes with the magic, he gets mad about that. Which I would be very happy that magically we could watch dishes.
Now, because you told me you'll tell me later why you chose me to watch this movie. Here's my guess. When Arthur has to wash dishes, Merlin does magical cleaning. So I figured it's because I was an immigrant that you chose me because I'm an immigrant and you thought I would appreciate magical cleaning instead of manual labor. Is that...
No, I picked you because, I think I watched this movie half asleep, but I picked you because...
Do you think of me when you're half asleep? Is that why?
No, because, Merlin is instead of a movie about like teaching Arthur how to fight, which would have been good, it's really more about thinking about problems and solving them and stuff. And because, weren't you in a think tank, or did I imagine that?
I was in a PhD program at Caltech for neuroeconomics.
Yeah, so you kind of remind me of Merlin.
Consulting.
Because sometimes when I need something like, I don't know.
I'm your technology and brain wizard.
Like especially when I started doing the web series. Alex really didn't show me anything. You showed me how to edit.
Yeah.
You showed me how to do stuff like that.
So I taught you life lessons that you've now used to become king of YouTube and Patreon.
Well, I'm king of Patreon. They kicked me off the YouTube. King of time.
I'm honored. I'm
16-year-old girls up.
That's very sweet of you.
So that's kind of why I thought of you as Merlin,
Oh.
and I'm like, maybe because I'm like, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was, but it's pretty fucking bad.
It's pretty fucking bad.
I think the first time I saw this movie, because I didn't see this as a kid. I saw it over the summer.
Yeah, this was my first and last viewing was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. I didn't remember the squirrel rape. We got to talk about the squirrel rape.
I'm ready for the squirrel rape. There's no logic to why they became squirrels. So the three animals they became was fish, squirrel
and a sparrow. Yeah. They become a squirrel to learn about gravity and understand to think before acting.
And then the female squirrel harasses and Me Too's Arthur.
She keeps trying to rape him. And she kisses him, and he's laughing about it. And I'm like, dude, this is bestiality porn.
And here's how you know this movie was made in the early 60s. This girl squirrel is the only female character. She's not allowed to speak. She just squeaks.
She's trying to rape the main character, and then when she finds out he's a human, she's destroyed. She is like...
And yet she still doesn't speak. I think the squirrel was Muslim.
Well,
the women aren't allowed to speak.
They never follow up. Well, there's also bad Mims. She's a female character.
Right.
She's evil.
Yeah, later. But, I mean, the evil character comes in 70 minutes into an 80-minute movie.
Yeah. But, like, the squirrel's, like, destroyed. She's heroic. She saves him from the wolf.
And then she goes into her tree trunk to cry.
Yeah, she's basically... Her life has been shattered by the revelation that her lover is another species.
Because I believe Merlin said squirrels mate for life, although I've never heard that before. But that seemed to be...
Yeah, I don't know. My squirrels around this neighborhood seem very single, ready to mingle.
She should have come back in the sword scene and helped out there somewhere.
Yeah,
I feel like I would be fine with him becoming a fish, a squirrel, and a bird if in the final scene a fish, a squirrel, and a bird help him do something.
No, what about he uses those forms to what if the movie starts with him pulling a sword out and somebody
always pull out, kids, always pull out.
And let's just say somebody in fucking I don't know where other parts of Liverpool, okay. Or Blackpool says like, no, I'm the king and I have an army and I'm gonna come fuck you up.
Yeah, that's already a good action movie.
And then Merlin shows up and is like, I'm gonna teach you lessons to defeat this motherfucker.
And then you give the Liverpool a fish because they like pool and
well, you teach him about the squirrel. You do the squirrel, all those little. But then like he uses all those lessons and he uses all those forms
to win over and make a
and the
coalition.
Squirrels and the fish and the sparrows join the army of England to defeat the evil guy.
That would have been the way to do it.
And
Instead, what we get is so here's
because he learned why is he learning these lessons if we're not going to apply them at the end of the film?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a great lesson. This movie is
a great lesson in screenplay writing.
A great lesson in how not to write and structure a screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I think the movie could have been watched backwards. He pulls the sword, and then all those stuff happen. But yeah, you don't meet the main antagonist until 75 minutes into an 80-minute
which is
movie.
Mad Madam Mim.
Yeah,
who down the road becomes a Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck villain in the comics.
She looked like Ursula from The Little Mermaid to me as well. Very similar shape and structure.
Yeah, she teams up with the Beagle Boys. Remember them? Did you watch DuckTales?
I remember DuckTales. I don't remember the Beagle Boys.
They were
I also like the was it the Prince Darkness? What was the ship? It was a ship.
Prince of Darkness.
Pirates.
That was Tailspin.
Tailspin as well.
Tailspin were air pirates.
What was after Tailspin?
Darkwing Duck.
I love Darkwing and Animaniacs.
Chippendale had Fat Cat. Chippendale Rescue
Rangers.
Rangers.
Chippendale. I don't remember Fat Cat. There was one more. He was like a pirate, ocean guy.
What a World with Kevin Costner?
No. It was a cartoon.
Peter Pan and the Pirates.
No.
Pirates of Dark Water.
Yeah, that sounds.
Okay, that's not
but
Disney.
It was like barely on, but occasionally.
That's Hanna-Barbera. It had good.
Yeah.
It had good character design.
I like
I'll give
that
it
one.
The chick was hot.
This one is just not. There's no save the cat moment. I don't like Arthur. In the first 15 minutes, I don't really like Arthur. Like, fine, I dislike his redheaded brother, but he doesn't do anything to be likable. He's like this beta. Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry,
hold
sir.
on.
Sir.
So I have so this is based off a book by T.H. White called Sword and Stone. Get a load of this though. This one makes no fucking sense to me.
I bet that one, it starts out with him pulling the sword.
The premise is that Arthur's youth was a time where he was tutored by Merlin to prepare him for the use of power in royal life. Merlin transforms Arthur into various animals at times. He also has more human adventures, at one point meeting Robin Hood. Why would you not have that in this movie? The setting
they probably didn't have the rights to it
yet. The setting is loosely based on but he had the rights to this. Robin Hood is public domain, and he had the rights to this book. The setting is loosely based on medieval England. It makes no attempt at historical accuracy.
Is King Arthur a real person?
There's a lot of
scholarly debate.
There's a lot of debate. He's. I'll put it this way: Jesus is more real.
Is Merlin a real person?
There's more proof that Jesus was real than Arthur. I'm looking up Arthur now. He's a legend, but nobody knows if he's real. You know?
Greg Criticos, he's a legend.
Hey! Legendary Entertainment over here. I'll put it this way. There's more proof that Jesus is a real guy. Well, Jesus was real. We just don't know if he was really Jesus. But we don't know if he was really the son of God, but he was a real guy. Like, there's a lot of...
Right. Yeah. Back to the squirrel rape. There's a second part. There's a second squirrel rape where the fat squirrel mom
wants to fuck Merlin.
Yeah, and then he keeps running away from her because he's fat shaming.
Mm-hmm. So then we get to the bird part where.
But before the bird part, this was my favorite line of the movie, the only quotable line of this whole movie. Do you remember what it was, Ray?
I've had enough of this nonsense.
Exactly. Yeah. Merlin said it, and me and you were like, me too. # me too as well. We've both had enough of this nonsense. Yeah, and now they're birds.
Now they're birds.
The only reason to become a bird is so you could fly up really high and then nosedive into the ground so you don't have to watch the rest of this movie.
But instead he meets Mad Madam Mim, which was whatever.
Yeah. Bring her in first scene, second scene. You should make Madam Mim should have been the stepdad's wife. Then things would make sense, you know?
It's true.
It'd be cool, right? Look, this is a way better pitch. You have an evil stepdad. He marries a wizardess who's also evil, and then the boy Arthur meets Merlin, who fights the stepmom magician. So then you face off.
We literally have made 20 better versions of this film.
I will say that there was Merlin and Mim had a lot of sexual tension. I was feeling it.
Well,
they were trying to. They would hate fuck at the end of this if they could.
He's got to fuck someone. Someone's got to fuck someone.
I guess this is a reason that you don't let creative people run wild, and you have some business person in charge usually.
Oh, well,
this
yeah.
felt like a first
Disney
draft.
was usually the business person in charge, but for whatever reason, he wasn't really involved in this movie.
This felt like the first draft of a movie that should never get past showing your friends for their round of feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was no end credits. All the credits were at the start. I think you should play the whole thing in reverse.
The reason why they approved this was Walt Disney saw the 1960 Broadway production of Camelot. So, of course, they were like, Camelot, Sword in the Stone. They were taking
right. It was a ripoff.
Oh, you know why this made? You know why this made so much money? This was made the year JFK died, and he was like the new Camelot. Remember they called the White House Camelot back then?
I believe you, but I don't remember. But
okay,
I'll take your word for it.
His favorite musical was Camelot, so they called him and his brother and Jackie O the new Camelot. Like the Washington D.C. was now the new Camelot. Like he was the new King Arthur. Okay. So then he got shot, probably by Lee Harvey Oswald or someone else.
Seems like no. I
think that's why I made so much money. What?
I've listened to podcasts. I don't think it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I think he got set up.
I think he got set up, but people probably felt nostalgic because of the Camelot.
Right.
That was the huge musical because he said that was his favorite musical on the campaign trail.
I will. Here's one more compliment. And this is my last compliment.
What? I like the scene where he pulls out the sword. That's the only thing I like.
That and the animation, the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, the animation was pretty cool. Especially for it being 1963, it's like they were saving all the good animation to the end.
Yeah,
because you couldn't leave the theater or turn it off because you had nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to call.
Yeah. All right, so overall, let's wrap this up.
0 stars.
0 stars.
Here's another problem: the threshold for king. This is why Britain stopped being an empire. The threshold for becoming king of England is just pulling a sword out.
I know, but it was ordained by heaven. The other people couldn't pull it out.
I mean, then again, America's current threshold is lower than pulling out a sword. You just got to start in a reality
Listen,
show,
I guarantee we're going to have a better president if we did the sword test.
It would be more... I mean, it'd be Jesse the Body Ventura. That would be my guess.
And he's a better... he would already be a better president.
Or some random world's strongest men named Sven.
Well, I'd rather give it to him than this fucking guy. All right.
Only in 5 more years.
So... He's winning. These Democrats. All right, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Go Disney.
Ben, give me some plugs. Where can people find you online?
BigBenComedy.com is the best place. You could sign up for my email. I send one funny newsletter a month. You could also follow me on any social media. Big Ben Comedy is the username.
And your album, of course.
Album coming out on iTunes. Buy it on iTunes if you have money. Don't Shake Your Miracle, or just type in Ben Rosenfeld, or go to my website. There'll be a link there. Or it's on Spotify and the rest of that stuff. But buy it on iTunes. That's the best thing you could do.
And yeah, you can buy my album on iTunes too. It's Ray Gootz, Go Down Swinging. But more importantly, you can also follow this podcast on social media at Disney Movie Stack, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter. I update the Instagram more because I fucking hate Twitter.
I agree.
Yeah, Twitter's for AIDS patients. So yeah. So that's everything.
They only have 140 characters left to live.
Yes. Next week is a sad episode. Well, it's a good episode.
This was a sad episode. The
I know.
movie was
sad. Gets even sadder.
This was good.
Because we're doing the Jungle Book. But unfortunately, in the middle of Jungle Book, Walt Disney died. And we're going to get into the fact he froze himself to be reborn as a cyborg.
Did we already visit how Walt Disney was a horrible anti-Semite?
Not yet. I haven't done that
I feel the need to address this as one of the Jews on the podcast.
Okay. Do you have any stories about his anti-Semite? I have to look into that
him and
more.
Henry Ford were like the two most known anti-Semites.
Yes. Well, there were no Jews in any of these movies I've seen so far. So also no black people.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely of the early 1900s. You got.
But he dies during Jungle Book, and there's a lot of weird things that went down.
Do you think the Jungle Book it was all white characters until he died, and then they
were like, thank God. No, it was always Mogwai, but they clearly had white people doing this music and shit. Actually, the Vultures. This is jumping ahead, but the Vultures are supposed to be like the Beatles, and he was like, fuck the Beatles, just make them generic. Like the Vultures were originally supposed to be a parody of the Beatles, and he did not want to mention the Beatles. So he did not like that accursed rock and roll.
The Beatles weren't even Jewish.
Well, they look.
Walt Disney just hated everything.
You ever see Ringo's nose?
Boy.
Hey.
Oh boy, here we go.
Hey, that did no good.
All right,
how do we really know?
Enough. That's
how do we really know? My flies.
Good night. BigBenComedy.com.
All right, Jungle Book next week.
Comedy albums.
Hold on. Jungle Book next week. Gianmarco Sorsi and the Death of Disney. Here we go next week. Tune in. Thanks. Go fuck yourselves. Goodbye.